After my husband left, I found a notebook in the entrance hall. Inside, written in my husband's handwriting, were records of his affair with his mistress. It was a day I got to meet her. Since we don't get to see each other often, we shared a lot of love, which made me happy. My wife has no clue, and that's laughable. I want to divorce soon and be with her, but there are many barriers making it difficult. Also, in the notebook, there was a photo of a woman holding a newborn baby, with my husband smiling broadly. A completed divorce form was tucked inside as well. I sighed at my husband's foolishness for boldly keeping evidence of his affair and his serious intentions towards his mistress. Since there were also numerous entries about him wanting to divorce me, I took photos of the notebook as evidence of the affair and put it back where it had fallen at the entrance. Got it. I'll do as you wish. I muttered to myself, gathered everything I needed, and left the house, heading to the mistress's house. My name is Mirabelle. My husband, Harry, is an engineer at an electrical equipment company. We married in our early 20s, but I'm turning 30 this year. The thought of the time I've spent with Harry growing longer fills me with emotion. Our life as a couple was just between the two of us, but a few years ago, my mother-in-law started to get deeply involved in my life. Kelly, my mother-in-law, suddenly fell ill and became in need of care. She's a good person who doesn't want to burden her only son, Harry, and his wife, me. As I get older, I knew there would come a time when I'd be a burden to my child, but I didn't think it would come so soon after I turned 60. I'm considering going into a facility because I don't want to be a burden. My father-in-law is already passed away, and Kelly has no one else to rely on but us. Harry and I discussed it and decided as a couple. I understand why Mom wants to hesitate, but realistically, your savings alone can't cover the cost of living in a facility permanently. I don't make that much money, and Mirabelle works part-time. It's tough to pay for the facility with our financial situation, so Mirabelle will take care of the caregiving. That's a lot to ask of Mirabelle, who's working hard herself. It's okay. Let me do what I can. I've received so much kindness from Kelly since we got married that I strongly wanted to give back. Eventually, Kelly agreed with our persuasion, but she had one non-negotiable condition. That was not to live together. Kelly never wanted to interfere with our lives and insisted on this. Out of respect for my mother-in-law, Kelly, we had her move to a place close to our home. After work, I almost daily visit Kelly's house to provide the care she needs. Kelly isn't fully dependent on care, she just needs a bit of help with her daily life, so living separately worked out fine. Mirabelle, thank you always. I'm lucky to have a daughter-in-law like you. Kelly would say without any reservations, which was comforting to me. Even past my 30s, I felt guilty for not being able to show her a grandchild. Harry is really busy, always on call for any electrical issues at work, so the caregiving mostly falls on me. Day or night, weekday or weekend, Harry often has to leave home. This naturally led to me spending more time alone with Kelly, deepening our bond. Harry's too busy, isn't he? I'll make sure to tell him he needs to take better care of you. Kelly would say, offering me some comfort. It's lonely being the wife of a busy man. One day, I noticed Harry had forgotten a lunch. I wake up early to make it. I wanted him to have it, so I decided to deliver it to his office. When I arrived at his small office, I greeted the employees inside with saying sorry to interrupt. I had been a few times before here and met some colleagues. One of them, Harry's boss, looked startled upon seeing me. Why is Mirabelle here? Are you okay to be here now? He exclaimed loudly, causing the remaining colleagues, who knew I was Harry's wife, to look over in surprise. I wondered if it was so strange for me to visit the office. I turned back to the boss to hand over the lunch. My husband always appreciates your help. He seemed to have forgotten his lunch, so I brought it over. No, your husband's off today, isn't he? What? I was told he wanted the day off to be at his wife's delivery. Are you okay here by yourself? Should I call a taxi for you? I was stunned by my boss's flustered reaction. I'm not pregnant, so there's no way I could be expecting a child. After all, Harry said he was going to work this morning. Yet, here he was, supposedly off work, and lying about attending his wife's delivery. Confused and touched by my boss's concern, I assured him everything was fine. Perhaps I was just mixed up, and went back to my car, head hung low. Harry always rushed off claiming sudden work, but was it really work? With these mounting doubts, I decided I couldn't continue our marriage feeling so distrustful. Searching online for advice, I learned that hiring a detective was the way to go. Without hesitation, I decided to hire someone to investigate Harry's behavior. A month later, I found a notebook at the entrance after he left. Flipping through it nonchalantly, I couldn't help but laugh. There was a photo of a woman holding a baby, with Harry smiling broadly, and a completed divorce form tucked inside. Harry's foolishness for openly keeping evidence of his affair and his serious intentions towards his mistress made me sigh. Looking further into the notebook, which included daily and weekly pages, it seemed Harry was diligently keeping a diary of his love affairs. It was a day I got to see Allie. Since we rarely meet, we shared a lot of love, which made me happy. Mirabelle has no clue, and that's laughable. I want to divorce soon and be with Allie, but there are many barriers making it difficult. There were also several entires about his desire to divorce me, so I photographed the notebook as evidence of the affair and put it back where it had fallen at the entrance. Got it. I'll do as you wish. I muttered to myself, grabbed everything I needed, and left the house. I had already filled out the divorce papers I took from the notebook, and swiftly submitted them at the town hall, granting Harry his wish for a divorce. The next day, I stayed at a nearby hotel, looked for a new place, and continued my part-time job. As usual, my phone in my pocket kept ringing while I was at work. I couldn't answer during work, so I ignored it, but during my break, I saw the missed calls and decided to pick up. Of course, it was Harry. Hello, Mirabelle. What are you up to? I came home to find the house empty, so I was shocked. You didn't come home last night either, did something happen? Something did happen. You left your notebook at the entrance, remember? I saw what was inside and did exactly as you wished, get it? What? You went through it without permission? Well, you shouldn't leave such personal stuff lying around. I've filled out and submitted the divorce papers as you wanted, so good luck with Allie.
Wait. Let's talk this over. This can't just end one-sidedly.
Harry had a point, and I couldn't just let him move on happily with Allie. I agreed to his suggestion, and we decided to meet at a cafe a few days later. When I arrived at the cafe at the agreed time, Harry was already waiting. As I approached, Harry looked uneasy. Why is Mom here too? She said you've been troubling Mirabelle, so I want to hear everything. It saves the trouble of explaining everything twice, right? Indeed, I wasn't alone. Kelly, my mother-in-law, wasn't summoned by me. I had briefly informed her about the divorce and my gratitude for her past support. Furious, when Kelly heard I was called out by Harry, she insisted on coming along. Having Kelly on my side was reassuring. Especially since Harry, from his childhood to adulthood, has never been able to stand up to his mother. Feeling like I had the strongest ally on my side, I sat across from Harry at the cafe alongside Kelly and quickly pulled out a thick brown envelope from my bag. What's this? Well, I've been suspecting Harry of having an affair for about a month now. I had a detective look into it, and I just got the report a few days ago. He's been meeting her so often that the detectives didn't even struggle to find evidence. Silly of me to believe he was just busy with work. I laid out the affair evidence photos in front of a dumbfounded Harry. Ranging from pictures of him walking with Allie to him playing with a baby that is also Allie's. Looking at them, it's ironic how they look like a happy couple despite being in an affair. Kelly and I weren't the only ones watching. When I finished displaying the photos, Kelly slammed the table and shouted,
What is this supposed to mean? Explain yourself.
Faced with the decisive photos and stern Kelly, Harry seemed forced to confess. Allie, the woman I've been seeing, works in the office. The child is indeed mine. We've done a DNA test, there's no mistake. Harry, you seem to have been buying her quite expensive gifts. I thought you said you had no money. You told me you couldn't afford to put me in a facility because of financial issues. The evidence photos included several instances of Harry handing Allie designer bags. Kelly's question was valid, so I awaited his response, which came reluctantly but defiantly. Yeah, I was splurging on her. That's why I had no money. Why should I spend money on a wife and mother I don't even like? It makes more sense to spend it on the woman I love and my own child. You're truly the worst. What are you talking about? At least now Mom can see your grandchild. Mirabelle and I are divorced, so I'll bring Allie and the grandkid around openly. Look forward to holding him.
You've really become the lowest of the low. To think you're my son, I'm ashamed. You're disowned. I don't even want to hold that grandchild.
With those harsh words, Kelly stood up. As I sat there speechless, Kelly asked me, Mirabelle, would you come with me? I nodded and told Harry. You really are the worst. Goodbye. And left the cafe with Kelly. That night, I went to Allie's apartment where she lives. The afternoon's display of Harry's attitude had driven me to corner him completely, though I was torn because the child was innocent. Who is it? When I rang the intercom, Allie peeked out, still with the chain on the door. I introduced myself loudly from the bottom of my heart. Good evening. Sorry for dropping by so suddenly. I'm Harry's wife, or should I say, ex-wife now. Don't worry, we've divorced. I came to report that.
Hey! Please don't shout.
From behind a flustered Allie, a figure approached. My loud voice had clearly reached inside. Who's there? A guest? Ken. Behind Allie appeared her husband, Ken. From the detective's investigation, I knew Allie was married. He's the owner of an IT company and earns a significant income. It turned out that Harry and Allie were both having an affair. After the door closed and voices could be heard arguing inside, Ken opened the door. I'd like to hear the full story, please come in. Considering the sensitive nature of our conversation, he invited me inside, and we began to talk across the dining table. Ken was serious, and next to him, Allie was pale and trembling. I heard, but is it true that you are Allie's lover's wife? Yes, that's correct. I have proof. I spread out the same evidence I had shown to Harry earlier on the dining table, and Allie quickly gathered them up, covering them with both hands.
Stop! Don't look!
Then, she burst into tears and clung to Ken.
Wait, Ken! Please, it's not what it looks like. I don't want a divorce.
Really, Allie, you are quite selfish. You were pressing Harry to divorce, but you don't want to divorce yourself?
I didn't say I wanted a divorce. Don't make things up.
I'm not making it up. Harry likes to keep a diary. It seems he was quite happy, as he wrote down the day you asked him to divorce. Look, I showed them a photo of the diary entry on my smartphone for Allie and Ken to see, as Allie tearfully repeated her denials. Ken, visibly appalled, picked up a few photos and told Allie. I guess you only ever saw me as a cash cow. I had my suspicions, but I never thought you'd actually be having an affair. Ken's financial prowess was immense. Allie likely wanted to hold on to Ken's money while also enjoying her love with Harry. That's why she tried to turn me, Harry's wife, into an obstacle and pushed for our divorce, even making me fill out the divorce papers. Her arrogance was exhausting. In tears, Allie pointed at me. It's all lies from this woman. It's all her fantasy. The photos and even the diary could easily be faked, right? Then, I will present audio evidence. It's hard to fake a real voice, so please listen carefully. I said coldly, launching the recording app on my smartphone and hitting play. What played was Harry's confession from earlier that day. I had recorded our conversation. Ali, the office clerk from my company, is my affair partner. This child is definitely mine. We've done a DNA test, so there's no mistake. The moment that part was heard, Ken, who had been relatively calm up to that point, stood up with such force that he knocked his chair over and confronted Ali.
You mean to tell me that child isn't mine? I never thought I'd be deceived to this extent.
It's a lie. That child is Ken's. I always told you how much the baby looks like you. Ali protested.
Every time you said that, I thought the baby didn't really look much like me. The man in the photo, Harry, was it? Now that you mention it, doesn't the kid look just like him? To think I was deceived even about my own child, there's no way I can forgive this. It really is Ken's child. Believe me.
Your lover even did a DNA test. There's no reason for that man to lie in this situation, but there are plenty of reasons for Ali to lie. You just don't want to let go of me as your wallet, huh? You'll need plenty of money to raise a child. Good luck with that.
No, please. Don't talk about divorce. I love only you, Ken.
You can still say that in front of this evidence. That's disgusting. Enraged by Ali's barrage of lies, Ken shouted at her while slamming his hand on the photos spread out on the dining table.
Get out now. And take your child with you. It's not my child after all.
Ali was sobbing uncontrollably and screaming loudly across the table, but Ken was packing her bags and pushing them at her to kick her out. As I watched this scene until the end and collected the photos, Ken deeply apologized to me. His sincere demeanor, apologizing for his wife's infidelity, cooled my anger, and I apologized for Harry's behavior as well. When I left the apartment with Ken seeing me off, I felt like the knot in my chest had loosened because I had successfully taken revenge on Harry's beloved woman. Seeing Ali being dumped by Ken right in front of me felt like, take that. Afterwards, Ali, who was driven out of the apartment, apparently turned to Harry because she couldn't hop from hotel to hotel with a baby in tow. It seems Harry accepted Ali and her child. Naturally. After all, that child is Harry's. Ali, of course, got a divorce. She won custody of the child. I thought Harry and Ali were going to build a happy family, but for two people who had destroyed two families, happiness didn't come that easily. Harry continued to work as usual at the company for a while, but his boss and colleagues knew about his affair with Ali. Facing increasing cold stares and whispers behind his back after their divorce, Harry couldn't bear the hostile atmosphere and decided to voluntarily quit his job. Unable to find new employment, he isolated himself at home. As a result, Ali had to change jobs to earn enough money to cover their living expenses and child support. Switching from office work, Ali decided to work at a nightclub to make enough money. For Ali, who had relied on Ken to get by, working must be tough. Harry and Ali live a life full of arguments, building a family that is hard to call happy. I heard all about it in detail from Kelly, who was my mother-in-law. Harry never turned to me, but he did seem to depend on his mother, Kelly, even after the divorce, reaching out for help. But Kelly is a stubborn one. We talked about cutting ties, didn't we? I don't have the conscience to take care of a despicable son like you. Clean up your own mess. She sharply told him off and sent him away. As for now, Kelly is in a care facility that I'm paying for. She was quite hesitant, but I pushed hard and she agreed. To me, Kelly has always been more family than Harry ever was. Now, I visit Kelly every day after work. She's always pleased that she doesn't have to feel lonely. Though I'm truly appalled by my foolish son, I must be grateful he introduced me to Mirabelle. She often says cheerfully. Kelly, who has become friendly with other residents in the facility, has arranged for me to have a casual meetup with a grandson of one of her friends. Her friend is kind, and the grandson seemed like a fine young man from the photos I saw. It's not a formal matchmaking session, just the two of us enjoying tea together. I'm hoping this meeting might mark the start of a new chapter in my life,